I wanted to talk about two different types of shoulder fractures in kids that I saw this week, and I wanted to kind of compare the two. So one is called Little Leaguer's shoulder. What is Little Leaguer's shoulder? Well, kind of like Little Leaguer's elbow, it's an overuse injury on the growth plate of the shoulder, and it can be just inflammation, irritation of the growth plate, but then it can progress to the point that it's even a stress fracture or a Colt fracture through the growth plate. So I had one girl, she was a young, growing preteen, loved sports, throwing athlete, and she was developing this gradual onset pain to the shoulder. It started to be really painful and is starting to affect her pitching. She had Little Leaguer's shoulder. Now compare that to another young girl who's a preteen I saw this week. She actually had a traumatic injury on a fall on the shoulder, and she broke acutely through her growth plate on the shoulder. So that's called a Salter-Harris fracture. Anytime you have young kids, they're growing, they have open growth plates, they would call a fracture a Salter-Harris fracture in relationship to the growth plate. So if that fracture goes straight through the growth plate, that's a special type of Salter-Harris fracture, Salter-Harris fracture type of 1, actually. Then they have a fracture if it maybe is above the growth plate, then goes down into growth plate, versus if it comes a different direction up into the growth plate. So there's different ways to describe those, but that's a Salter-Harris fracture. You only see those in kids with growth plates. Compare that to more of like a gradual onset stress injury, growth plate, Little Leaguer shoulder. Two separate things, but they affect growth plates and young growing athletes.